I have a dream.
It's one small step for man.
I am the greatest.
You want something, go get it. Period.
What's up, my fellow dreamers, doers, achievers? This is episode number 15 of the Dream Pick & Co. podcast. And on this episode, on episode number 15, we have someone who I truly admire and truly appreciate in what he is doing with his work, with his career, with his path, and making himself the best person possible. And it just so happens to be that he is a close friend of mine, someone I met about a year ago, and through the asking and getting to the place where we are now, we finally got together and recorded a podcast. And it really was something that I expected. It actually is even more so, blew it out of the water. And he really gets into all the things and all the value we want to bring you guys. And I really do know that for those people lacking commitment and those needing really good advice, Mir is someone going through the process and the journey. And the things he experienced in life has led up to his accumulation of all his knowledge and his mindset and his attitude. So I know you'll enjoy Mir and his 2 cents and advice and his story. And if you would like, here's a little clip from the episode.
You know, more often than not, if you're willing to grow from it and realize failure can be the most beautiful thing ever.
That is Mir in just a segment of the things he went into. But to get rolling, our quote for this episode is, "He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow." He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow. Friedrich Nietzsche. And in terms of our 2 sponsors, first we'll talk about StuNited. This app is for students seeking to be matched and connected based on their academic skill sets. Struggling in science but good in math, StuNited will provide you with a card stack of other users to swipe on. Swipe right on students that complement your skills and find your StuMate today. From personal experience, I can say I use this and I exchanged my knowledge and bartered my knowledge with other students. It's very beneficial if you are a student or if you have something to offer, or if you don't, you can use it in any way you want, unique to your skills. And most importantly, talking about their revision of their platform, they're coming out with an Android version fairly soon. I know I keep talking about it, but it's on the horizon. And on their iOS, they're adding new features that the end consumer will benefit most from. And lastly, if you would like to see their workings on their social media and the community they're building, you can do so at StuNited app, StuNitedApp, and even check out their website at www.StuNitedApp.com. And then in terms of our next sponsor, it is Tech Roots Academy. Tech Roots is a fabulous company that goes to schools, libraries, and conducts camps. And even from personal experience, I've worked and interacted with the young kids they have taught the basics of computer programming to. And they really are bringing true value to the people and the places they teach at. And in terms of their revision, they're going from in-person, in-class tutoring to online. They transferred all their classes and courses online, so you can definitely check their courses out if you want to learn computer programming or even just want to support their cause at tech_roots or their website at techrootsacademy.com. And without further ado, you can get right into the episode and this interview with Mir Vyas.
So, after many months, I finally got someone on the podcast that I've been wanting to have on the podcast for a while, and we've been talking about it, and we finally, got together. I think it's just a testament to your dedication and focus with all you're doing. So I'm glad to have you on here. If you'd just like to introduce yourself and say who you are for the people listening.
So, my name is Mir Vyas. I'm from Kenya, born and raised, and it's my second year at Drexel University. Met Anthony in one of my freshman year classes, and we just clicked. Very similar mindset, and I mean, we're just gonna have a simple conversation. You guys would believe it or not, this is how we speak every day. So it's not like something we plan. he just texted me the other day, and now I'm here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's like we record podcasts every time we talk, but it's not actually recorded. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But one thing I want to start with from day one, from like block one, step one. How was it growing up in Kenya? Like, what was your family like, and then what was like the beginning, young childhood life for you? Like, how did everything go, and how did you end up coming here to where you are now at Drexel in Philadelphia and everything?
I mean, growing up in Kenya, like, at the point, it was a third world country, so it was a very simple life. And it was, I'd say, like an ideal life for me, if I think of it right now. It was very simple, just not much to it, nothing crazy, no distractions whatsoever. And with my family, I mean, I think I was really brought up well, just grounded. I mean, if I ever got, too much about myself or anything like that, I'd always have family and friends to put me down, bring me down. So that was never an issue. My parents never gave me everything I wanted, and like for the longest time I didn't know how well off they were financially, and it still doesn't matter to me. So I think with like growing up in a country like Kenya where everyone, it's not that big, or like there are not too many people, everyone sort of knows each other, so everyone's on your case if you do something wrong, so you have to really have your stuff together. So it was nice in that way. I grew up like you become mature at a very young age, because I went to boarding school when I was in 7th grade, and so coming to Drexel wasn't that difficult. It was easy in terms of like living away from home and all that, because I've been used to that, but it's a different country, so in that way it was a bit different. But I guess living away from home, all my friends, family, all of those things, all of those factors sort of influence the way I am right now, the way I'm grounded, the way I act, the way I carry myself. And I wouldn't have had it any other way, because now, think of it now I'm here in the United States, I always thought this is the place I want to be, like, but it just really doesn't really matter where you are as long as you know what you're doing. That's about it. And the way I got here was, so I'm actually an American citizen, born and raised in Kenya, but American citizen, so it was just cheaper for me to come to college here. I like Drexel had an amazing co-op program, so I was like, why not? And now that I'm doing my first co-op, I can see why a lot of people are like, you should go to Drexel because of the co-op.
Yeah. No, I think, have you done interviews before? It seems like you're answering a bunch of my questions I wanted to ask already.
No,
you're
it's
good
how
at
we
this.
talk.
Yeah. No, I wanted to, because that was one of the main things I wanted to ask. Like, were the things that your parents instilled in you, and also the things you learned in boarding school, and like all the discipline that came with it, is that driving your bodybuilding path and the things you do today with everything you partake in?
Yeah, absolutely. So I probably let me start off with like at a very young age when I still lived with my parents and all that. I mean, I had a clear-cut routine. It wasn't something that I had to notice, but it's something my parents probably knew, and they put it into practice every day. And so over time I figured out, okay, at this time I have to get this done. So like I would be waking up at around 7 every day, have my breakfast, go to school, come back, have my lunch, do a bit of homework, go back to school like in the afternoon, and then be back from school, relax for an hour, get some homework done, play some sports, shower, go to bed at like 8. And that was the routine I followed every day, except the weekends, of course. So like from a very young age, I was already aware that I had to be organized in that way, and it was something that just came instinctively because I was doing it from such a young age. It was so easy. So when I went to boarding school, it was a lot more strict. This time it was like a clear-cut routine, and you are told at this time you have to do this. So we would wake up at 5:30 every day. There was morning exercise compulsory, and if you missed, you'd get something confiscated, so your phone would go. And so everyone would wake up, and then we had classes that would start at 8 through 4 p.m. or like 2 p.m. sometimes, depending on like the schedule. And then we'd have like 2 hours to yourself. And at that time I was in the basketball team, so I had training, and then at 6:30 we'd have our supper, and after that you have to study, compulsory study session all the way to 9, and then we'd have like a sort of a dome meeting because I used to stay in domes for like half an hour, and then you have to be in bed by 10, and then you repeat the cycle. You have to be up at 5:45. At least in the beginning it was like that, and then going through like my 11th and 12th grade, it was a lot more. There was a lot more freedom, like how long, at what time you could go sleep and all that. Cause so assignments were like a lot, and they would like really take a pounding on you, and so at that time things really got rough. So I would like end up going to bed at around 2 or 3, but I still had to be up at 5:45.
Really? Oh, jeez.
And there was like a stretch when there was so much for the longest time, almost 2 months. It was something I had to do all the time. So I did get used to it, but it was so difficult. And it was like something in looking at the positive side of it. Even after all my assignments were done, I was still like used to that routine. So like on the weekend, 6 hours of sleep was a blessing to me. And so I'd wake up early. I'd wake up at, let's say, 6 a.m. on the weekend, and I had so much time to get things done, like just besides schoolwork. And that was something I hope to carry here. But even though it's not the same as in 6 hours, I try to get as much sleep as I need because it's very important.
Yeah,
I do get
of
it,
course.
at least for what I'm trying to do now. But I still try to keep it minimal, like not sleep too much, because I have so many things I could rather be doing than sleeping. At least now when I'm on co-op, because I have an opportunity to get other things done. When I have classes, now that I can't get things done, it'll just be a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
So I think, like, going back to your question, all the values and the routines and the upbringing from my family, friends, peers, teachers, mentors has played a very significant role in what I'm doing right now, and I can say for sure it will in the future as well.
Yeah, and the one thing I wanted to get into is like a lot of people mistake, they have to work extremely hard and not get sufficient amount of sleep in, but sleep is one of the most important things you do in life. It's like you sleep a third of your life. So for you, do you have discipline in finding time for sleep as well, and finding time for getting away from your activities to like sort of like balance out the scale? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I guess for the longest time, I was that type of guy that was like, no sleep, no this, just grind. I don't want a social life. I don't want to be doing this. I don't want to be doing that. I just want to work. And initially when I was doing it, it was now that I was giving everything I had towards something I was working on, it showed some very good results. And so I thought that's the only way to do it. And then I guess as time went by, I realized this is not the way to do it. So I needed to be more out there, go a bit more like social events, focus on other things, just not rely on one thing. And that's when I sort of realized sleep is very important. Now, I mean, for me, I have to sleep, like I already said, because of the bodybuilding aspect of it, I have to. But just generally, you need to sleep because you can't really function well. I mean, this is science, I'm just not throwing my thoughts on it. You have to, you're more creative, you're more fresh, and just generally good for your health. I mean, yes, you want to be successful, you want to get things done, but at what cost? Not at the cost of your health.
Exactly.
So those are things that I really take a lot more seriously now, and that comes with an organized, personality and a routine that you need to set out for yourself, so that you can get things done as well as focus on your social life and other things at the same time, getting things like sleep in or your meals in, because that's just as important as achieving your goals or things of that sort.
And we're gonna eventually get into like everything you're doing, but one more question now that we're on this topic is like, is there another thing or another habit you have to get away? Like for me, I would say my example is meditation. Like that is my way of grounding myself through my day-to-day activities. Is there like another thing you do? Is it like, it can be like eating, it can be like watching videos, like what is that one thing for you?
Well, I wouldn't say going to the gym, because that would be just focusing on one thing. I haven't told many people, but I listen to classical music.
Oh, that's awesome. Nice.
It's very relaxing. It's not too hype. It's just you find the right music, just think about things, figure things out. Sort of during self-reflection, I do is just plug my headphones in. I try to do it for at least 30 minutes every day. as before I go to bed, and occasionally first thing in the morning. So like if I have a long day, if I know I'm gonna have a long day or I have a lot of things to do, wake up earlier than usual, plug my headphones in, listen to this classical music, sort of plan things out. Because I don't really write things down, or as in terms of what I'm supposed to do during the day, because more often than not, at least in my case, it's always subject to change. But like with goals and all that, we'll get back to that, but I always write those kinds of things down. So classical music is something that's really, really helped me. Even sometimes when I'd be in the gym, I listen to classical music. It's just a lot more relaxing. It's not too hype, and you just sort of focus more.
Yeah, no, it's funny you say that. I actually sometimes listen to like Mozart. I have like a classical music playlist on my Spotify account. No, it's actually really helpful. And then, so seeing you being extremely disciplined and dedicated and committed to your craft and your bodybuilding progression, what is one piece of advice or like your 2 cents you would give to someone that's lacking commitment completely and like they can't stay on track with one thing?
I think ideally the most important thing before everything is you need to really find something you love. You need to be doing something you really love, because honestly speaking, willpower can only last for so long. You'll be doing something that someone else has told you to do for only so long before you stop liking it, and you will hate your life, honestly. So the most important thing I can say is you need to find something you like, because even when all odds are against you, you'll still do it just because of the love and passion you have for it. And once you find something you love, all other things will fall in place. So I'd say for now, just find something you like. No, don't listen to anyone else. Just take time, be honest with yourself, be true to yourself. You're going to be judged anyways. And I think, when you talk about your life and things you want to do, the last thing you should care about is what someone else is going to think, because it's yours and you're going to be the one living with that decision. So just be true to yourself, be honest with yourself, and find something you love, and success will come. Money, everything, you don't need to worry about that. It'll all come. It'll all come.
Yeah. No, that's a great blueprint and imprint that can leave on someone's mind, dude. I totally agree. I think like the whole, if you want to build like this dream cake, the bottom layer is the purpose and why. Next is the discipline to achieve those small goals, to build like a momentum effect. And then after that is repetition, which I know you have a lot of repetition every day. And then after that, it's like, it like bleeds into all your other values. So like that's a perfect layer to have. But another question I wanted to ask you was, is there one particular or like certain thing or failure that really helped you and guided you on your path? So it really set you up for success in a way. Like if there's one failure you can identify.
I would say, I guess, so I used to play basketball in high school. I mean, it's actually funny you asked me this question, because I had a meeting for work and we had to talk about an event that really shaped your childhood, and I talked exactly about this. And so it was about like basketball, and I used to, try and be as modest as I can. I used to be decent, let's just say decent, and it was almost at like in high school, let's just say high school basketball was almost at my peak, and I got several injuries, my lower back, my ankle, my knee, and it just really affected everything. So it affected my performance, and at the point, other than the injuries, I thought I was so good, and everyone was hyping me up, and I let that get to my head, and so I stopped working hard. I was like, well, I don't need to work hard because I'm so good already. Like, why should I? I'd rather be doing other things.
The ego crawls into your head.
I got into all sorts of wrong things, and when those things did catch up to me, it was really difficult. It was like, I would not want anyone to have such an experience. I was borderline depression. It was like that bad.
Really?
Like, I haven't spoken to anyone about it, but it was so difficult. I mean, I won't talk about like things I went through, but I think that plays a very, very big role in like the way I take things right now. So like now that I finally found something else I like, I take it a lot more seriously, and I'm just able to know when to cut certain things and people off when I have to, and when to focus on these kinds of things. That played a very big role. I mean, obviously, besides my parents who have like been my biggest role models, events like that. So I mean, I always say this, more often than not, if you're willing to grow from it and realize failure can be the most beautiful thing ever. So that's just something you have to figure out. But once you do, you realize that you do want to fail more than you do want to be successful, because it drives you so much. So that kind of events, similar to the ones I told you about, really, really drive me. So I'm the type of person that is more motivated by failure than by like success, if that makes sense. Because if I'm successful in something, it's I just don't feel as hungry.
Yeah, you get
But
complacent.
if I fail at it, I'm like, okay, I need to put in a lot more effort. And when I do make it after a failure, it's like just a different ball game, different beast, different all kinds of things, if you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. No, exactly. It's like you can even relate it to the analogy of bodybuilding itself. You literally break down the muscle to build it up again.
Yep, and every time you break it down, it's a lot more difficult now. So you have to use so many training principles. So it just gets harder. It gets harder and harder. That's why you go back to what I said. You need to find what you love, because willpower can only last for so long.
That's beautiful stuff. And before we get into like nutrition aspect and like lifting advice you have for people and that type of stuff, one last question I wanted to, or ask, actually two, it can be a two-part question for you. One, are there any like signs or absurd things that guide you when the road gets tough and bumpy? So for me, it's like the number 11:11. Like when I look at the clock and I see 11:11, like that's a sign that I'm on the good track, because it goes back to my grandma and like personal reasons. But that's one like absurd thing and like sign that helps me. And then the second question is, I admire a lot of your silence and like working in silence and not letting other people create noise in your head. So I think you answered that question already though, with like blocking people out and like cutting people off if you need to. So I would say the second question is, how do you like cut people off and block things off that get in the way of like you staying on track?
Right. So I mean, if we talk about something that guides me to like success or just generally do what I do, I mean, this with no doubt I can say on a good day or a bad day is my parents. That definitely, I mean, if I look at it now that I'm more aware of how things work, is they have an insane work ethic, both my mom and my dad. I've never had to worry about anything growing up. I've seen my dad's work ethic, which is insane. I mean, if there's anyone I want to be when I grow up, I know even though I may not be able to be like him, I would wish to be like him. Same for my mother. She always has a very strict routine, up at the same time every day, always getting things done, never had to worry about anything. So in that way, if I sort of related to what I'm doing, I'd also want that kind of life where I'm grinding, 100% dedication to what I'm doing, at the same time enjoying, the small and more enjoyable things in life as well. And like that also, going back to the other question, that also sort of helped me realize like when to cut off people or certain things. So just let's talk about bodybuilding in general. You need to cut out certain things when you're on diet. You can't eat sugar, you can't eat bad fats, bad carbs and all that. So even though I may not realize it, I've already been cutting out things I like, just for the better of me. And so like now that I've been able to do it from that, it's a lot more easier when it comes to people. I mean, with people it's just always a lot more difficult because it sucks. Like with people it's just because this is an actual person, it's not food, I could care less. But like people it's difficult, and that's when you honestly have to like just be true to yourself, and really realize who's actually helping you. And you don't always have to be like the people that you surround yourself don't always have to be like focused towards your goals and stuff like that. There could be people that do something completely different, even things that you may not be aware of. It's just that how they carry themselves, their personality, their mindset, how they treat others, those kinds of things do matter to me. And like when I am like, let's say now I'll be doing a show for the first time, which I'm very excited about. I think when prep does start and I'm getting closer to my show, I'll just be focusing, surrounding myself with a few people, because that's the kind of energy I want around. So I mean, I would say almost I'm friendly, I'm open to meet everyone, but the people I hang out with, the people I text, I talk to, they're all always encouraging me to do better, always being honest with me, always criticizing me, telling me what to do. So in that way, I've never had to worry about like cutting people off like that. It's just like potentially, if I could, especially when we talk about like maybe relationship wise, you find you meet a person, you're like, wow, maybe there's potential, but then you think like you start thinking of, well, how could this really work out? I have to do this in terms of goals, but I have to also do this. And that's when things get difficult. That's when you're like, no. So that's always difficult. I mean, hopefully it all pays off, which I know it will, but definitely in that way, yeah, it's important to really be honest with yourself and cut people out when you have to. And it's all just for your own good. And you really wouldn't know. I mean, if you fail, you failed, you grow from it. Yeah. That's the name of the game. That's life. But those are things you just sort of have to do. And we're still young. We have a long way to go. We'll figure things out. We'll learn how to be more efficient at these kind of things. And I'm sure God has a plan for all of us. So these kind of things, you just have to trust your gut.
Exactly. Yeah. Go with instinct. I've really seen like you've built such a strong base and foundation. Thank God to your parents and the people you grew up with, that it's like trickling into all the little things you do as you grow as an individual. So I just gotta admire before I go on like your attitude, your parents, your mentality. It's really amazing to see the discipline and dedication you have at a young age. But I know you mentioned it. Can you get into, if you would like, the competition coming up? Because I know you said your first small show. How important is that going to be, and how excited are you?
I mean, so
doing that?
the way it works is the two divisions. So there's NPC, which I'm doing. It's an amateur division, and so you win an NPC show, and then you qualify for nationals, and then if you win nationals, you get your pro card. So I am very confident I'm going to win my NPC show, and I qualify for nationals. So I'm not sure if I'll do nationals yet, because I just don't think I'm good enough to compete against everyone else. And I probably will take like, let's say 1 year off just to make improvements so I can really compete for nationals and put myself in a position to get that pro card. So my goal is to get a pro card before junior year, which I know is very possible. But I'm very excited for this show. Just to say that I'm going to be, even though prep or nothing has started, just to say that I'm going to be doing it is wild. It's just in a way it just humbles me, because it just goes out to show me that all this hard work and dedication and like not going out during when I've wanted to, or not eating things I've wanted to eat and all that is just slowly paying off. And I don't, for the longest time I didn't know if I would do this show or not, but how else will I know? There's only one way to find out if this is what I really want to do. But one life, that's all you have. So hell yeah, you want to go out, have a good time, meet people and all that, but at the same time it's very important that you are working towards your goals, and giving it a shot may not be your thing, but there's only really one way to find out. But that being said, I'm very excited. I'm very focused. My goal, like I've told everyone else, is to win the show. I'm not going there for the experience or like to place top 5 or top 3. I'm saying it now, if I don't win, I will be very disappointed. I'm working, and that tries me during every workout to just give it 100%, because I might as well struggle right now than like place second, because that would just suck. And even if I don't win, I mean, I'll still be as motivated, because I've already told you, failure always drives me to do much better. But nonetheless, I am extremely excited. I can't really wait to get on prep. Very excited.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what's important. You prioritize and sacrifice the things because you have that end goal, and you know the larger picture that you're leading up to. So I'm even excited for you, dude. I can't wait for that. Because I know the prep you see sometimes is just on video, and like I'm sure people can look it up. But would you want to talk about for a quick second like the prep process and like how strenuous it is?
Right, so when you're in prep, basically what you do, it's mainly cutting down weight. So you want to, based on what the judges are looking for. So for my division, it's men's physique. It's not the crazy wild guys that look like comic, characters. It's just the men's physique. So that's like the beach body type of look, which is still not really beach body. It's a lot more conditioned, so a lot more ripped, so very low body fat, So it's not, so you're cutting down weight to get as lean as you can while preserving as much muscle as you can. And that's difficult because so often people do like a 12 to 15 week prep where you now diet down to get as lean as you can. And honestly, it's very difficult because for you to get that lean, you're going to be in a caloric deficit. So you're eating less food than your body needs. So you're basically starving yourself to death. And as fun as it sounds, that's actually what you're doing, because you're eating less food and all you're doing is playing with your metabolism. So eating less food, your metabolism slows down. You all of a sudden eat more food, it spikes up, then you lose more weight. And believe it or not, being that lean is not healthy for you. You're eating no food, no carbs. So when you're eating no carbs, you really don't have an energy source. So it's very difficult mentally, and that's why, like I said, getting closer to my show, I'm going to cut so many people off because I'm very sure I'm going to be very moody. I may be saying things that I don't mean, because just generally you have nothing in your body and you still have to go work out. I mean, it's crazy what some people have gone through during prep. Like, they can't even take themselves to the gym. They need someone else to drive them. Even when they're doing the cardio machine, they end up falling off because you have no energy. You're lightheaded. So I'm glad I'm doing it right now and I'm caught, because I don't see myself prepping when I'm in classes, because there's no way I'll do well in my class. So I mean, it's difficult, but like I said, that's why it's very important to find what you love, because if you don't like it, you are bound to fail. So just find what you like and just let it kill you.
Exactly. And one last question I always end every single interview with, every episode with, is I want to ask you, what is one big vision you have pegged on your vision board that you want to accomplish, whether it be in 10 years or 50 years, like one giant big dream you have? And I always say, like, in the part of the question, what are you doing to get there? But I already know what you're doing to get there. So what's that big dream or vision you have?
So my goal is actually not related to bodybuilding at all. My main goal is not really. It is. I mean, I do have certain goals. I've spoken to you about them. I'm not going to talk about them yet because it's just low key. Let's keep it low key.
Definitely.
But my main goal is to be able to reduce educational and gender disparities in my home country in Kenya. That is my main goal, because my success, for me, that's just somewhat very selfish. I want to be able to use my platform, my success, to be able to impact others. And I think the biggest problem we have, at least in Kenya, is educational disparities and just a system that doesn't work at all. And when I say system, I mean a corrupt government. And that's something that's up to me and the youth right now to change. So my goal, hopefully, is when I do become somewhat influential, God willing, when I do have the financial means to help someone, is to do everything I can in my powers and abilities to change that, because success is only so much. until you use it for good. I mean, everyone has their own opinion on what good is, but for me is to not only be the best version of myself, but is to use my abilities to help the person next to me be the best version of themselves. Because that's what I've always wanted to do. I've always carried that mindset whereby I don't want to make it by myself. I want everyone else to make it, and if anything, everyone else makes it first before me. Because I just hate seeing people. It low key breaks my heart to see someone struggle. I mean, these are things I probably wouldn't tell someone, but it just does, and it messes with me so much that I've actually made my mind up that this is what I want to do. I want to help people, and this is not something I'll be able to do immediately, but I just want just tell people that make sure you're doing something to help someone else. You may not know it, but helping someone else is no greater feeling. When you actually do it, it's just a different kind of satisfaction you get, that you impacted someone's life, you changed someone's life. So that's a crazy feeling. So hopefully I can achieve that goal, which will take a while, not anytime soon, couple of decades, but we'll see.
That's awesome. Yeah, bro, I couldn't put it any better, and I just want to end it there because that's just a beautiful thing. You really put it perfectly, and you really have a clear vision, man. So to end it, thank you for being the person you are, and I really admire, and I'm sure the people listening will admire what you're doing.
All right, thank you for having me, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode number 15, and what we're doing at Dream Big & Co. to build our community, it would mean really a lot from the bottom of my heart if you can become more involved and even join our community. You can do so by subscribing to this podcast on all of the 10 podcasting platforms, our channel on YouTube at Dream Big & Co., and even our social media at Dream Big & Co. That will be all in the show notes, all described there for you, and most importantly, we ultimately and always do this for the people. We do this for you, raw, authentic, and relatable. We want to add value to your lives, so if there's anything you like, hate, or want changed completely, please let us know and rate this episode and leave a review. Even message us or email us at dreambigandco@gmail.com. Thank you so much, and have a great one.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.